Mike sits down with regional agency director Jason Adams. Jason grew up as an athlete with a competitive nature, and he one day became a basketball coach on a budget.
I was making $17,000 a year. So it was kind of one of those things where I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really do this at all.
Which then led to him being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
2 weeks later, after he gave me that raise, they had someone from the corporate office come down and said, we're closing.
To provide for his family, he channeled his inner competitive spirit to achieve numbers that he used to think weren't possible.
So many people were like, you gonna write $1 million? I really didn't think it was possible until I thought, okay, that's just a couple thousand more a week.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
All right, welcome everyone to the Level Up Lifestyle. I am your host, Mike Sheets, and with me today is Jason Adams.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Jason, for those of you, there's some people that are listening to this that are familiar with who you are. They've seen your face, for like the last decade on everything, right? On company magazines and, on stage as the perennial number one. I guess if you're a college football fan, you are the Alabama of Liberty National, right? So to speak. But there's probably some people listening that don't know who you are. And so, I don't know. Maybe just to quote Anchorman, you're kind of a big deal.
I'll take that.
So Jason, you were the first person to write over $1 million in net premium in a 12-month period in a year, right?
Yep.
First person to ever do it. That's like walking on the moon. No one thought it could have ever be done. You do it. Not only did you do it, you're the first one to do it. You've done it now. Coming up, this will be 5 years in a row that you've done this. And just to give the listeners some perspective on that, the average policy size that you sell is what?
$400 AP?
$400?
Yeah.
$400 in premium. So you're selling a lot to get to $1 million in 12 months. And now you've done that 5 years in a row and no signs of stopping. So, it's just great to have you here.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, what we kind of want to do is here you are now, $1 million, 5 years in a row, all the success, all these great things, but it wasn't always that way, right? There was a path, there was a journey that you had to go through, that you had to walk, and maybe some things that have happened along the way that have made you into who you are. And, maybe there's some people that are listening to this, they're seeing who you are now. How long have you been with the company?
I've been with Liberty for about 17 years.
17 years, yeah. Okay, yeah. So same as me, so 17 years, yeah. So they're hearing you now, 17 years later. They don't know who you were 17 years ago, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about even further from there and that whole journey. So just where are you from? What was your childhood like? What were some of the things you did growing up? Let's just start there.
Okay. Yeah, I was born in Springfield, Missouri, which I still live.
Okay.
Born and raised there, and my mom and dad. I have one brother.
Okay.
And my dad was in the ministry.
Okay.
So he was an associate pastor and also worked at Baptist Bible College, local college there in town, a Christian college.
Okay.
And so people from all over the nation came there. That's how he came there. Is he came to Baptist Bible College and ended up getting his degree, and they hired him to teach.
Where did he move from? Where was?
Well, his dad was in the Air Force. My grandpa was in the Air Force, so all over. So he lived, I want to say 15 different states. So, But then they were living in Albuquerque, but he hardly lived in Albuquerque, but that's where my grandma and grandpa retired, was in Albuquerque. So we always went down to visit them, but he moved from Albuquerque, not really living there much at all. So came to Springfield and then met my mom at Baptist Bible College, and then they ended up staying. So they hired him to be a teacher. He was the dean of students for, I want to say 35 years.
Oh, wow.
and then was associate pastor at our church and has been the associate pastor at our church for about 25 years.
Okay. So you grew up in this environment. Did you play sports? Were you competitive?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a competitive piece to you right now. So where is this coming from? Your childhood, or where's that coming from?
I grew up competitive. I grew up playing Little League baseball and basketball, and played high school basketball, college basketball as well.
Okay.
I have problems with being a little bit too competitive, even now in pickleball. So I have problems with that. But so that's grew up playing sports my whole life. So that's what I have always done is played in sports. Like I said, played Little League and was always doing something with athletics.
What did you think you were going to do? Did you think maybe sports was an option? Because if you're
Absolutely.
really competitive?
Yeah. Just from as far as I can remember, my thinking that I was going to do was be a basketball coach.
Okay.
So that's what I went to college for. That's why
to be a coach.
That's what I planned on being was a coach. In fact, when I graduated from college, I actually took a coaching job down in Florida, and it didn't work out. So was down there for a couple months, and we've got.
Was that college or high school or what?
It was a high school. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I thought I was going to be. Was a high school basketball coach.
Gotcha.
And just kind of plan on doing that.
So you're kind of going through this progression. You're in high school, right? You're thinking sports. This is the way.
Yep.
So where'd you go to college?
I went to BBC as well. Basketball college. Yep. So that's where
Dad got you in.
Yeah. He was able to get me in there. So I had several scholarships offers for some NAIA schools and different schools around the area, but I mean it just made sense to live at home. It was very inexpensive. I could go play basketball and get a degree and all that. So it just kind of made sense. It was very simple.
Discounted tuition, maybe.
Absolutely.
If, your dad's,
my dad is the dean of students, and I never got in trouble. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing as well. I did get in trouble a few times, but
right. The coach's son type of a thing there, right?
Yeah.
The dean's son.
Yeah.
So so kind of in here, you're like you're going to be a coach. So you said that. You came out of college. When did you and Lisa meet? Did you meet in college?
We met in actually, she was a little older than me.
Okay.
So she played volleyball and basketball at BBC. And I was in high school. I was a junior in high school when I first saw her at BBC.
Okay.
And she caught my eye. And because I would go up to the gym, just in the evening times and just play at BBC. It was a good place to practice.
You have the keys.
Open gym. Yeah, basically. But it was open a lot. And that's when, when I kind of noticed Lisa, we didn't really talk until I came.
She didn't want anything to do with a high school kid.
Well, I don't know. So she said she did back then. But I was probably a little bit too young at that time. So I was going up there and playing in the evening time. But then when I came to BBC my freshman year, she would have been a junior, but she actually didn't come my first semester. She took a semester off. And I remember being furious that she wasn't there. So
I feel like this might have been part of the other reason why you went to this college.
That was possibly because I knew she was there. But she actually took a semester off and ended up coming the second semester of my freshman year.
Okay.
And there shortly after we met, and started dating, and the rest is history. So
when you went to Florida, did you guys go together? Did you go by yourself?
Yeah, we did. Okay. We went together. So my sophomore year, we ended up getting married.
Yeah.
And then I worked in the gym. As a student athlete, I made $5.25 an hour. She worked a full-time job while I was going to school. So she supported me really while I was going to school my junior and senior year.
So you got married your sophomore year of college.
Yeah, I was young. I was young. She was a little older, a couple years older than me. But so we got married. I think I was 20 when we got married.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't recommend that these days. So, but that it wasn't that long ago. But that's when we got married. So she supported me my junior and senior year. She worked a full-time job, and so then I played and obviously traveled and all that.
So what was that like? Did you grow up, I guess, a little bit more than a lot of people maybe in college, right? Because
I did,
you've got a wife, you're working, you got trying to focus on your future.
Yeah, and so I would work in the gym, and I was making $5 an hour. I was working a lot of hours. I was picking up a lot of hours, but it was just kind of just monitoring the gym, monitoring the weight room, and doing different things there. So I was always trying to pick up extra hours. I always felt like I had a good work ethic. And then in the off season, when we didn't have, I would get a job in town at Big Lots or whatever, just making a little bit here and there. I was married, and we had to. I help support her, although she was supporting me during those couple of years. So.
Right. Yep. And then what happened with Florida?
So after I graduated from BBC, and again, my whole intention was to be a basketball coach. Yeah. There was several pastors that had Christian schools that we had talked to. We actually went and interviewed one down in Pompano Beach, Florida, that just didn't really work out. And then one in Melbourne, Florida called me and said, hey, we'd like you to be the high school basketball coach, the athletic director We've got a pretty good team.
Straight out of college.
Straight out of college, yeah. And I actually knew another former coach of mine was actually down there for a few years, was coach. Said it was a pretty good opportunity. So we ended up accepting that position and moved down there. And so I was fresh out of college. And so Lisa and I packed up our stuff. We moved down there.
No kids yet, right?
No kids.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was in 2001, somewhere in there. So, but things just didn't work out. So there was just a few things that I was promised that that didn't really happen. I mean, the church had a house for us, but it was a long way away. There's just so many things I could go into it, but it just didn't work out. The basketball coach at BBC called me and said, "I really wish you were here." And I said, "How bad do you wish I was there?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Things aren't working out here."
Right.
And so he said, "Okay, come back up here and be the assistant at BBC."
Okay.
So I was the assistant basketball coach at Baptist Bible College, and I was assistant for 1 year. So we moved back. We actually moved back in with my parents.
Okay.
And that's when 9/11 happened. So that was in 2003. So that I remember that. No.
It was 9/11. Yeah.
Okay. Daughter was in 2003. So 2001. So that I remember we had moved back and hadn't been back at all. And I remember being at my house when 9/11 happened. But Lisa went back to work full time. At a place there in Springfield when we moved back, but we lived with my parents for about 6 months or so. So that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So
get back on your feet.
You just kind of get back on my feet. And so I was working. So I was the assistant basketball coach. I was the assistant athletic director, but I was making $17,000 a year. So it was kind of one of those things where I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really do this at all, So, but I knew I wanted to coach. Well,
so are you doing it for the experience? Is that what's keeping you going here? Or are you competitive? So you just want to win, and then move up, or what's your plan?
We really just kind of put in the Lord's hands. Like, okay, let's see how this goes.
Okay.
And the head coach had also said, I may be looking at retiring soon. Well, he really liked me. I played for him for 4 years. Then I was assistant for 1 year. And he said, "You know what, Jason, I'm going to retire. I want you to take it over." So after 1 year of being an assistant at BBC, I took over the head coaching job.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was the head coach at BBC, and I ended up being the head coach for 5 years. But again, it was so little pay. Lisa was still working full time in 2003. So I coached from 2001 to 2006.
Okay.
I was the head basketball coach for 5 years there at BBC. It was tough because I was pretty young. There was players I was coaching that was a year younger than me, 2 years younger than me. So there was some of that I had played with I was friends with. Now I'm their coach. So it was just it was tough at times to do that. But I enjoyed it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be the basketball coach at BBC. The previous coach was the head coach there for 20 years, and I thought, well, I can do this, and and build this program and all that. But he didn't. The athletic director didn't leave, so he remained the athletic director. So I was making about $17,000.
That's where the money's going to come from.
Exactly. If he gets out, then I can get that and try to build the program. And so I'm the head coach, but I'm assistant AD, and I'm not making money.
It's so crazy because when you think about like college athletics, in these really big schools, Kansas, Bill Self, and North Carolina, Michigan, all these large deals that these coaches are making millions, right? And then, but I think there's this whole other world in college athletics, and maybe those smaller schools where you're really you're pouring yourself. You're doing it for the love of the game, essentially, because you want to be the coach. Yeah. Right. It's not for the money.
So I made $4,500 coaching is what I made for the year.
Wow.
And you average it out, it ended up being about $1.92 an hour. I figured it up one time with all the travel and the practices and all that. And so I told him, I said, I can't do this. I can't just support my wife, and she's working full time, making way more than I am, and then me just working this. And so I stepped down as an assistant AD and just said, I'm just going to coach. And I went and got a job with actually one of my cousin that worked at a furniture store there in town. It was called O'Sullivan Furniture.
So this is a financial decision.
This is a financial decision. So I'm still going to coach. I'm going to coach. We're going to do practices in the evening. I can kind of set my own schedule. So that's where I thought, okay, I can do this. And I was making, $12 an hour, but there was commission on top of that if I sold furniture. So it was part of particle board, pressed wood stuff.
Yeah.
But it was discounted. It was, it was pretty good. And I found out pretty quickly that I can sell stuff.
Is this where you first kind of figured that out? That
this was really where I started.
You can
selling.
talk and you can do this.
Yeah. And I was able to build relationships with people real quick when they came in, make them laugh and make them feel comfortable. And do
you think coaching gave you any of those skills just from being able to communicate with a group of people? And,
yeah, absolutely. I think it helped. It just amazing how the Lord just had all of this, planned out. So I became I was just a sales guy there for a while.
Yeah.
But I was making pretty good money. I say pretty good money. I'm probably making $25,000 a year.
Oh, it's a lot more than you were making before.
Yeah, it was. So, but then I figured I had a truck and I thought I could do deliveries as well. So we're selling furniture and I'll say, I'll deliver this for $50. And
like I was doing under the table thing,
under
right?
the table.
Yeah,
under the table.
You know what? Hey, I know a guy.
That
knows a guy with a truck.
Pay me $50 and figured out how to do that. Again, it was all pieced together. So some of it we would just I'd taken pieces and then put it together in wherever they were having it. So there's little desks and different things like that. Yeah. So I started doing that as well. Lisa, again, is working full time. In the meantime, we had Faith. She was born in 03.
Your first daughter.
Yep. So she was born in 03. And again, I'm doing the furniture, I'm coaching. So I'm probably working, 60 hours a week doing both, but I was enjoying it. Things were good. We weren't making a lot of money, but we were making, we had a house. I think we bought our first house for, it was like $59,000 we bought our house for. And it was a little 3-bedroom.
I think I've given you a bonus check for more than that here recently, but that's where you started, right?
That's where I started. Yep. Yeah. And one day I come to work at the furniture store and the district manager had changed the locks. He fired the manager. So we were actually all sitting, it was a Sunday afternoon, we were all sitting outside waiting because the doors were locked. And he walked in and he said, "You're fired," to the manager. And he said, "You're still," he was crazy. So he had done a couple of things that he didn't agree with. So he said, "You're still working, I hope," and pointed to me. And so he brought me in. So shortly after that, he made me the manager of the store. So, it worked out. And so now I'm making $30,000 a year plus now it's starting to get good. Now I'm starting to make good money.
So what are you thinking at this point? Like, hey, I'm just going to coach. I'm going to do this furniture thing. Life is good. This is kind of the path that we're going to be on?
Yep.
Or are you seeing more? Or that's kind of what you're thinking?
That's what I kind of was thinking. Like, I can still coach and, everything's good right now. And, I still, thought, okay, maybe a high school will open up and I could be the high school coach at a local high school. Mm-hmm. I didn't know, just kind of taking it day by day, but I was enjoying what I was doing. I mean, everything was good. And then a new district manager was hired at O'Sullivan.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, now I was just, I don't know why, just worried, new management coming in. And, but he liked me. And so we hit it off. So I think he was the district manager for about a year. We were doing well, but we knew the company, which was based out of Lamar, Missouri, was not doing very well.
Yeah.
But we never really thought about it because we were making a lot of money for, we were doing $200,000 a year for this little store, which we thought was a lot of money. And so I was making $30,000 a year as the manager. And I remember the new district manager said, "We are going to give you a raise because you're doing so well. So instead of making $30,000, I'm going to pay you $34,000." And so I had a couple buddies that I had hired, and things were going well.
12% increase, right?
Yeah. So I thought this was great. And about 2 weeks later, after he gave me that raise, they had someone from the corporate office come down and said, "We're closing."
Wow.
So, and I just remember thinking, what in the world? How is this happening? Why did I get a raise and then they're closing 2 weeks later? So then it was a going out of business sale. And of course I'm still coaching, but I'm making $4,500 a year in coaching. And Lisa at the time she was pregnant with our twins, Hallie and Cassie.
Wow.
And so it was in the fall of that year of 05 when that happened. And I just remember thinking, man, what am I going to do? I had no idea. Lisa and I prayed about it. We didn't know what we were going to do. I went and interviewed with about 6 other furniture companies in Springfield. Put applications in. Nobody wanted to hire me because I coached.
Oh, okay.
Practices were in the evenings, games were in the evenings, games were on the weekends. We traveled quite a bit. So they're like, sorry, you got to work Saturdays if you want to work here. And I thought, well, I don't want to quit coaching just to do that. So during our going out of business sale, someone walked in, Sarah Everett walked in.
Okay.
And said, you need to talk to Jason Everett, my husband, about working for Liberty, for Globe.
Yeah.
And I said, I remember when she told me that, I thought, no way do I want to sell insurance. And
did you know Jason and Sarah?
I knew Jason. I didn't really know Sarah that well, but I knew Jason. Jason and I sat in back of some different classes at BBC.
Okay.
So all I knew was he was hilarious and he was rich.
Okay.
So he had come from telemarketing background with MCI, and then he had left to go the insurance. So I knew he was successful. I knew he had money. I didn't know really much about him, but that's all I knew. And I thought, and I talked to Lisa about it. We prayed about it. And I thought, I just don't want to sell insurance.
Why didn't you want to? The stigma? Or
the stigma. Yeah. I think the stigma, the selling individually, it was also overwhelming. I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. I really didn't think that I could sell, and just not knowing really anything about insurance. I mean, I didn't know anything about insurance. So, and I thought, if I did insurance, I don't know if I'd be able to really coach as well. So
because of the hours?
Because of the hours, and I didn't really know much about it. So I called Jason, and he said he was out of town with his family or whatever, but he said, just go interview, if you're not interested, that's fine. So I remember going interviewing with a gentleman in the office, and sat down and we talked about it. He said the average first year income is $56,000. So that was a
lot more than what you're used to bringing in.
Yes. Yeah. And I seriously did not think I could do it, did not know if I could do it, but I thought if I stink at this job, I can work hard enough to be average. And if I'm average, that's almost double what I'm making right now. And I can work my own hours, so if I want to coach, I can still coach.
Did you have any confidence just in the fact that you had done sales before and you didn't think you could do sales, and then you learned that you could do it? So was any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, well, I can develop relationships with people pretty quickly. I can, just at least once I learn it, at least I can communicate with people one-on-one, because I've been doing that with sales, with furniture sales, people walking in the door and all that. So
if Jason could do it, then.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's funny because we had Jason on the show, and he said that he hired you, and that's kind of one of the feathers in his cap. But you tell the story how Jason didn't want to hire you, right? So
his wife, it was more his wife than
him.
And I found out a few months into working with Globe was we were on our way. I had won a little contest, and the four of us were driving down to Hot Springs, Arkansas for some little contest. And I found out Jason didn't think I would make it. He didn't even want to hire me at the beginning because he didn't think I'd make it. He thought I was just wasn't gonna fit. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know. So it's interesting because this time it seems like you had a pretty rapid change. So you're at this moment where what's going to happen in life?
Yeah.
Where you have one child, you got twins on the way, you just got laid off, you got bills, I'm sure.
Yes.
You got a home, you got cars, you got, and how did it feel? You just kind of go from that moment of, I don't know if despair is the right word, but
it was close.
Panic, or
it was.
Then to was it just that motivated you to give Liberty a try, and let's just see because Jason's doing it and you're, or how did that kind of transformation happen?
Yeah, I think there was panic. There was definitely panic. There was definitely, Lisa and I prayed about it, just what would we have? And, we thought, well, I could go try to be the assistant athletic director again and all that. There was just a few things there that we just didn't feel like that would be the case. But yeah, I guess it was just, there's nothing else. That's really what it was, because I wanted to continue to coach. So there was really nothing else. So I thought, okay, I can give this a try. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Although I didn't really go into it that way. I really went in because I had a truck, and I sold my truck and got a Camry because I thought I'm going to go all in on this, and really,
that was your delivery truck.
Right? Yeah, it was my delivery truck. Yeah, it was a nice Dodge Ram truck, and it looked good. I got compliments on it a lot of places I went. I bought it from my dad, so it wasn't an expensive truck, but it looked good. But yeah, so it was just, there was just no other options really. So that's why I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this. But again, I didn't do it as I'm gonna have a plan B. So I traded my truck in, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go in on this.
Go all in.
Yep.
How important was it to go into it, even though it wasn't what you were looking for, but to go in it with no plan B, like I'm gonna have to make this work?
Well, and again, yeah, I really think that was a huge difference. But again, I thought average. If I can just be average, and I'm making $56,000, we are doubling our income. Lisa does not have to work. I mean, that's what we were planning on doing. Lisa staying at home and not working, and taking and raising the kids. So that's why we really thought, okay, we do this and I just work hard enough to be average. I can put the hours in enough to be average. And then again, I was still coaching. So
yeah. So when you first started, pretty much just success right out of the gate, just making tons of, you're in the company, magazine cover, your first year or anything. I mean, I'm sure there was some challenge.
It was a lot of challenges. The first year was hard, but Jason was able to help train me. There was a couple of guys in the office that helped train me. But
so, what were some of those challenges in that first year, just coming into? Because people see who you are, but they don't know this.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember not knowing anything. I remember selling a product for 4 months and didn't really know, how the product really worked. I mean, I just remembered.
Remember the script.
Remember the script and remember how to present it and closing it. I mean, I remember, different techniques doing that. A lot of it I just kind of learned myself on how to close and how to be assumptive. But again, it just all goes back to, I don't care who you are. It's just building that rapport with whoever you're sitting in front of. You look at it as you step back and you look at, okay, this is huge. This is overwhelming. But if you take it one person at a time, one client at a time, and you're developing that relationship with that person, then it's, you're just, it comes a lot easier.
Yeah.
You can break it down and where it's just, okay, I'm just going to see.
But it took you time to figure that out.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
Well, what was that journey like? I mean, when you first started, was, your first week in the field, was it?
Oh, there's so many stories. I mean, I was with Jason Everett out there. So it was crazy. But, I was setting up some appointments and he was going with me and he was presenting and learned a lot. We laughed a lot. There's just, like I said, there's some crazy stories that I could tell you, but I just
What's
learned.
One of the things that sticks out with you from that time?
How easy he made it seem.
Okay.
How easy that he was able to build a rapport with someone, and I thought, okay, I can do that. I could build a rapport. I may not be as witty as him, but I can try to emulate that. Obviously, you've got to be yourself. I think that's one of the most important things. But just how easy he made it seem.
Did you have fear about the job, about the opportunity, about anything you're going through?
Yeah, I did. I remember a couple months in going to Jason and saying, I really don't think this is for me. I had some cancels. There were just a couple of bad weeks. And I really thought, okay, I don't know if I can do this, because this is just so much, it's commission. So it's just so much, unknown. And you have a couple of good weeks, but if you have that bad week or two, and I thought, man, we've got twin babies at home. It's just stressful. But
what would you have done if you said, hey, I can't do this, and you left? What do you think you would have done?
I really don't know. I probably would have pursued coaching more. I probably would have tried to find a high school to, apply for, probably become an assistant at a high school somewhere, and then try to build up that way. Because I remember that was in the summer after, the first year I started. So I started in February. Into February is when I started with that. But I remember summer, I went to him and said, Jason, I just don't know if I can continue to do this. I'd had a couple of things that had happened. And I remember him pulling out a bonus check out of his wallet that he had just got.
Hadn't cashed it yet?
He hadn't cashed it, no.
Didn't have to.
And it was $5,000 bonus check. And he goes, yeah, sometimes this job stinks. And he pulled out that bonus check and showed me that. And I remember thinking, my word, that was a sixth of what I made, coming in for the year. And he showed me that bonus check, and I thought, okay.
It's just a check in his wallet. He hasn't even cashed yet,
exactly.
Right? It's leftover money.
Yep. And I remember just thinking, good, that's just a bonus check. That's not even all the stuff he's getting right now. And I thought, all right, maybe I need to rethink this and think bigger. Maybe I need to think, okay, if I can continue to do it. I also figured out too, our office was one of the top offices in the nation, and they did this contest a couple of months in, and I ended up winning the contest.
Okay,
and I didn't know much about it at all, and then I figured out our office is one of the top offices in the nation. I'm winning the contest for our office. I'm one of the top in the nation. So I figured up. I started climbing the leaderboards pretty quickly on that. So I thought, okay, maybe I can have some success in this, pretty quickly.
So how soon after that moment of I don't think I can do this, did it take for you to start all of a sudden like, wait a minute, I'm actually really good at this?
I'd say a few weeks.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And I mean, that close to saying, okay, I'm just going to walk away from this.
Like 14 days or less.
Yeah.
You know,
probably. Yeah.
You ever thought about what your life would be like today if you would have made that decision to hang it up? And
I really haven't. I really don't think about that a lot, but I know it'd be a whole lot different. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you stick it out, right? Was it just seeing that bonus check and seeing that opportunity, and then kind of, did you have in your, I guess, like inside of you, like an idea of the lifestyle that you wanted to have, and or like that you knew that you could be successful if you just stuck it? I mean, was there something else driving you? I
mean, I saw Jason and saw how again, I thought they were rich,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they did well. And then there were, of course, people in our office that drove nice cars and, different things. I thought, well, and it wasn't really anything of being, okay, I want to be the top in the company for years, but I want to have a good income and provide for my family. So Lisa does not have to work. So my kids don't have to be raised the way I was. I mean, which was, we didn't get Jordans. I wore Jordache jeans, from Kmart, so that's, one of those things where it's just, I wanted to, it wasn't really necessarily about trying to be wealthy, but it was just trying to make a better life,
a more comfortable life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when did you, let's kind of go into your career here now. When did you started to notice that you're the top of the office, and then the office is top in the company?
Yeah.
When did you think that maybe you could write $1 million in a year? How did that happen?
I had been number one for several years in a row. And I remember people always asking, when are you going to hit that million? When are you going to hit that million? I think my first year I did 600,000, somewhere in there.
Which is still, at the time, what year was that?
14?
Yeah.
13? 13.
Yeah, which is 13. Still, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the most was like 200,000 or 300,000, and that was, and right. Then you're 600,000. It's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, so I, every year, and then, with Liberty, you're going back to the same people every year. So you take care of those people, that's going to build. So, and then of course, just closing new cases as well. So, but I remember Roger Rich, then so many people were like, you going to write $1 million? I really didn't think it was possible until I think the year before I'd wrote 880,000 or 870,000, something like that. And I thought, okay, that's just a couple thousand more a week is really all that is. And, just remember going for it that first year that I ended up hitting it. And, and then.
Did you plan it out? It's like you said, it's a couple thousand more. Did you figure out like down to a small number? Like what did you need to do daily or weekly or?
I took it weekly.
Okay.
20,000 a week issue.
Okay.
You do that, you're a little over $1 million, 20,000 times 50 weeks. And so you're a little over $1 million and plus a week or two for cushion. So that's kind of where I took it, was just week by week.
And did you figure out what you needed to do to get to the 20,000?
Not really. Cause I already had my cases that I was continuing to do and already had that production. And I guess my thinking was, okay, let's just try to close a few cases a month, a couple cases more a month to kind of build that a little bit more.
Yeah. So, right. How many miles did you drive that first year?
I want to say I drove close to 60,000 miles my first year. There was a couple of years
on the Camry, right? Or the
yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then I've had a lot of cars, so you go through cars a lot, obviously, when you're driving that many miles. But it's, here lately I don't drive that many miles. But it's
what's not a lot of miles to you?
30. 25,000.
25,000, 30,000 a year.
Yeah, as a year. Yeah,
not a lot to you,
not,
right?
Not as many.
That's why a lot of people do that in 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you're at home and commuting to just your job in town, that's 3 years, right? 30,000.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you felt like when you wrote that 800 that, okay, I can do the million. And then did you believe it like right out of the gate, or was it still kind of?
It was still something, yeah. Until I got to September, October. When it
started to feel real.
When I really thought, okay, I can possibly hit this. And I also thought, I'm going to hit this one time, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it again, because I really just, that year I really went after it to get it. So.
I think I remember that now when you wrote that million. I think Steve and I called you and told you that you had a case that fell off or something.
Oh yeah, that was real cool.
Right at the end,
real
right?
Cool.
That was
real mature.
Had fun with you, right?
Yeah, you did.
So,
yeah.
How did it feel to do that? Right,
it was awesome.
The first person to do it.
I just remember being grateful. I was humbled about it. Just I was grateful to the Lord that He allowed me to do that. The other thing is to be healthy enough to do it all year, where you're not sick for a week or two. There's so many times, or a car accident. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen during that time, or a case canceling.
Were there moments where like you probably didn't feel well and like didn't feel like doing it?
Yeah. There was. Yeah, I remember there was a few times where I'd be 3 hours out of town and wake up in the morning and just be like, okay, I've got to go to work.
Like you don't want to go to work, but you're forcing yourself.
Yeah.
How did you force yourself to work when you didn't want to work?
Just faked it. Yeah.
Just said go.
Yeah.
Just do it anyway.
Yeah, just do it anyway. Deal with it later. Maybe take a few Tylenol or ibuprofen or something. But
is that the difference between like motivation and dedication? Because I think motivation is very short lived. Right, you're motivated. I want to write $1 million, and then something happens, and the motivation goes away.
Yeah.
Then you have to be dedicated. Like, what does that mean to you? Like, how did that get you through those moments?
I mean, I did, again, just look at the bigger picture. Just thinking, okay, this is just continue to do it and taking it day by day, week by week. And the other thing when we talked about it is just being competitive with myself. Just kind of putting that challenge out there. Okay, I'm going to try to do this 1 year, try to write $1 million, and just trying to fall through and do that. And I remember working a lot of hours to do that, to be able to get it.
What kind of hours did you put in that first year? You're starting your day at what time? You're ending your day at what time? I know you said you're not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person. When you talking about when I was coaching too?
So wait, were you coaching and you wrote $1 million that year?
No, I'm sorry. Okay. My first year though, back with the company,
you were coaching.
Yeah, I was coaching. Okay. Yeah, I was coaching my first couple of years. So it was
maybe that's what was holding you back. I don't know. Right?
Yeah. So I was coming home, eating dinner, and then going to practice from 7 to 9.
Wow.
So getting home and that just wasn't a good. I wasn't being a good dad. I wasn't being a good husband. Doing that. So I thought, okay, this is not working out. Plus the money with Globe was a lot better than it was coaching.
Sure.
So found that out really quickly. So
yeah, you'd make at Globe what you make in a year of coaching in a week.
Yes.
Yeah, or less even.
Yeah. Yep.
So, like I guess like now you're that $1 million year. You're putting in how many hours a week? What would you say?
I'd say 45, 50.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not crazy amount.
Right. I think the difference with you is you only count the hours that you're working as working. You're not counting the 2-hour drive to where you need to go as part of the 40 hours.
Right.
You're counting the 40 hours of me sitting down with someone.
Right.
So
right.
I think sometimes people, we talked this a little bit, is they're counting the prep time, or they're counting the time that they're thinking about getting ready to think about doing something, or driving somewhere. And that's all in the setup. You're looking at what is the actual time that I'm in an income generating activity. How important is that to just take some of those side things and not include that as part of the body of work?
Well, and I think a lot of people, it's very important. And I think, it's not looking at it, okay, how many hours did I work in a day? You work until you're done.
Yeah.
So many times I'll leave at 7 in the morning and I'm home at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. I remember texting Lisa, it was a 14-hour day today, I work with a lot of people with third shift.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the evenings and nights and, overnight or whatever. But if I'm 2 hours out of town, I'm trying to work smart and seeing the day people and then hanging over for the night shift and getting the night people and then getting to a hotel at 10 o'clock at night. Or if it's an ambulance crew, waiting for them to come back and go back to the place at 10 o'clock at night and then getting up the next morning and doing it again and trying to be smart with my time to where when I'm going, I'm out of town 3 hours for 2 days. then I'm trying to get 5 places.
Get it all done.
Get it all done
out there.
So,
and just if you're away from your family, you're going to maximize your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so important. It's just maximizing your time and working. And as longer I do this, the smarter I try to do this. And what's great now with the virtual is, if I miss a person or two, I can call them. Now I don't have to go back 2.5 hours just to see one or two people. So that has helped a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So in those moments, then, because I think this time maximization is really important. You're going to go drive 3 hours away. You're going to spend the night. Are you still spending the night when you're going out? Working in the field.
Once a week.
Nights?
Once a week. Maybe once every couple of weeks. And it depends too. Part of my enrollments, maybe March, April, it's more towards Poplar Bluff, where I'm staying a night or two a week, for a few weeks until I get all that. That's far, But here lately, I haven't stayed the night out probably in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Just because a lot of my cases are an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Well, I can get there and back, and it's not that big of a deal,
But if you're going to stay, even if you're driving 2 hours away,
right?
Does that, I got to maximize that time? Does that motivate you when you want to take downtime, when you want to just let me just take a breather, maybe take an hour and just chill out or something, let me go back to the hotel and just watch some TV or something, right? That doesn't cross your mind because I'm here, I want to get
exactly.
it done.
Yeah. I'm out here. I want to get as much done as I can so I can get home and, get back to the family for dinner or, or for evening with the family or whatever. Yeah. So that's more of a, that's a big motivator for me. But yeah, I mean, just last week, there was several days where I was doing 3 and 4 different places in a day. I was getting there at the first one at 9 a.m., leaving and going, and they're not huge cases. A lot of, I have a lot of smaller cases, but they have 8 employees. I can see those 8 employees in an hour and a half.
What's the average size worksite account that you have?
I would say probably around 12 employees.
Okay. I think this is so interesting because, again, from a lot of people outside looking in, they just see you as all your accolades. They see your face on the cover of the magazine. But it's the lifestyle approach that you take to this business, at least that I feel, I want to get your opinion, that puts you there. You write the average size policy that you're writing. So there's they're building the conference center downstairs where we are right now, and there's construction noises. I don't know if those are coming through on here, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, so the average size premium that you write, audit policy, is the same. It's company average, right? The accounts that you have are company average. It's not like you're going out and writing these huge premiums on these really large cases because you knew somebody who knew someone, and then that's who you are. You are just working a lot.
Yeah.
And you are just living that lifestyle of, when I'm there, that's it. I'm working. Right? I mean, is that what you feel embodies? If you're to embody your success, is that lifestyle approach that you take to the business?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, there's no cases too small, so, even if there's a small case, there could be 3 people there that doesn't have life insurance and one on their whole family, you just never know. So, and then taking care of those cases as well. But yeah, that's, just maximizing your time and making sure that you're taking care of those cases and getting as many cases as you can too. So first couple of years, I was working harder to get those cases. Now it's all about hanging on to those cases so I can go back and see them year after year.
Yeah. You're still putting time in though, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's good. I mean, it now at this stage in your career, what's keeping you motivated? Because you're still just at such a high level. You're elite performer. You're still writing over $1 million, right? What's motivating you now?
A lot of it was competitiveness, there for a while, just, being able to write $1 million a year. That's still a goal of mine this year, is to write $1 million a year this year. But the Lord's blessed me with health and energy, and what else am I going to do? I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to I still want to provide for my family.
I don't see you sitting on a Sunday afternoon just doing a puzzle, sitting in your rocker there. That's not a you.
No,
thing.
that's not what I want to do. So, but I mean, obviously I want to spend more time with my son as he's doing sports, and with my daughters as they're cheering and be at their games. I mean, that's a very important thing for me to be, is at their games and not missing those things. And with insurance, I can schedule my time around that for the most part. I mean, there's times every once in a while you gotta miss, but that's motivation to me is being there for my family and I work hard, but I also vacation hard. We're trying to do vacations and
you own a couple properties now too, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We own some nightly rental houses down in Branson. If you're interested, look me up and we can help you up. We're building
a discount on the rental rate, right?
I know you don't need a discount.
Oh, okay.
But we're building a few more down there, and so that's kind of where I'm looking at my part of my retirement is where I can have some nightly rental houses that are producing income and some of that secondary income. So
sure.
But obviously this job's allowed me to do that.
Well, and you talk about the residual income aspect of this.
Yes.
I think that's you're very smart with that, where you're taking that money and you're investing it back in something that you're just kind of exponentially multiplying it.
Yep. And when I started with this company, that was never even a thought that I would be able to do anything like that.
Like, how can I make $50,000 this year?
Exactly. Yeah. That's how it was. And, and then I realized, okay, I'm can be pretty successful. And then the competitiveness came out and I thought, okay, I want to be top in the company, not only in my office, but in my company. And then obviously everything comes out along with that. But, as a new agent starting out, it's overwhelming, and I remember that, and just making sure you are listening to your AD, your managers, and you're following those systems that they put in place because they work. They worked years ago when I started. They still work today.
So you talked about this just a little bit, like the flexibility that you have, that if your kids have an event or, something you got to be involved in their school, you can kind of, make sure that you can be there for that. But you're also working 40 to 50 hours of actual work. And then I would say probably add another 10 or so hours of just like prep, commuting, drive time, things like that. So how do you balance a strenuous work schedule, probably, time that you take care of yourself, like in the gym or, at church, obviously, and family time in that, and then time to be there for the events. How are you able to balance the whole thing?
I guess part of it is I'll look at the games first. Okay. And kind of work, obviously Wednesday night, I'm going to be there for church. Sundays I'm at church all day. So, that's obviously priority number one is the Lord and my family. And then, just kind of working around there and then scheduling. And, I really, I know there's a lot of people that schedule weeks out. I don't. I usually the next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, this morning I set up an enrollment for next week. So, it's one of those things where I'm usually the next week, but just kind of, trying to fill into my slots and all that.
It's interesting you say that because we were trying to schedule this a couple of weeks out and he said, oh, well, I got this. And it was so hard to get you to come here and do this because you're taking time away, right?
Yeah. Well, it's been tough, but and that was weird because I've had two businesses recently that emailed me and said, we want to do it on this date. We want to do it on this date. And I'm like, all right. So then, obviously I'm working around that,
right?
But that's more unique where they're wanting me to come in. We want you to come in, but that's one that was yesterday morning.
Sure. So. Okay. So just be proactive with it is kind of what you're saying. So if I'm a new agent in this company, or if I'm doing anything, I mean, it doesn't have to be with Globe Life, Liberty National. This could be working anywhere. If you have, a career that is time consuming, your advice to them to keep that work-life balance is to be proactive with their scheduling, or
yes, absolutely. And just, I've got calendar, I've got my notes. I'm just always trying to just maximize my time as much as I can, just trying to be as smart as I can. And again, the longer I've done this, the more I've really tried to do that and just be smart with my time.
How important is that support system at home?
It's crucial. Without Lisa, there have been probably several times that I've quit, but she, it's one of those things where, she didn't ask, how much AP did you write today? How much money did you make today? It's just always encouraging. And I think she saw the bigger picture too, that, hey, she knew I could be successful with this and just encouraging me and not nitpicking and all that. And it was probably hard for her at the beginning on, the commission checks and all that coming in. But again, she knew, we kept talking about the average first year agent, that's all we gotta do.
So we got to put the time in, but we'll get there.
Absolutely.
And do you think that being intentional with your scheduling helps kind of recharge the home life as well, so that she can be supportive of you when you're clear on here's the times I'm working, here's the times I have this.
Yep.
And then kind of that back and forth communication.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I really do. We do have a family calendar type thing, so we can put in, schedules and different things. And now my older daughters are working and all that. So, we try to still schedule vacations. We went to Glacier National Park here a few weeks ago.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
And so, we're always still trying to do that. But
is that hard for you? Like you're on a vacation, it is. You just sneak off and just like sell some insurance to somebody while you're there. We're like, hey, come here and talk to you about something. Or
it is.
Right?
Of course, it was an hour earlier out there, but there was a couple mornings where I got up and got in the car and went and make some phone calls, and try to make a couple sales while I was out there. But, and obviously you're getting calls for claims and all that, but that's where I struggle, is just getting away and taking the vacation. And, when you're up in Glacier National Park, there's no cell phone service. It does help.
Yeah.
There's no cell phone service.
Maybe Lisa plans vacations on places that don't have cell service.
Yeah.
That's part of the plan.
So that's part of it. But being intentional about that too. And, making sure you can't go on a lot of vacations when you first start. You got to put in the time to get it built up to where you can later down the road. So be able to do
part of that dedication, right? Knowing that this can happen.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, it's just kind of a crazy journey. Like, I just need to make $50,000 this year, to now you own multiple vacation homes.
Mm-hmm.
You can go wherever you want, but you're still focused.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Lord's blessed. And just looking back on all the things that, that we went through, and that he just had a plan for us. And that's one of the things too. We try to give to our church. We try to give to missionaries. We try to help in other things like that, in all the ways. And it's just so awesome how the Lord has blessed us that we're able to do that and be a blessing to others.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jason, I really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule, right, to be here. It means a lot to us. I think it means a lot to the people that are listening to this, and maybe kind of seeing, you're human.
Yeah. Yep.
You have the emotions, you have the challenges that everyone has, and it's just kind of that approach that you've taken that's helped you achieve to the level of success that you have, right? So again, thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
We have a tradition now on the Level Up lifestyle, that for every guest you get a bobblehead of yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
so unfortunately, we've run into some supply chain issues in the being delayed of our bobbleheads here. So I would present it to you. And
did others get a bobblehead?
Yeah, they have. Just you haven't gotten yours yet. So and eventually, I think what we want to do is we'll have like a kind of a table here with all the bobbleheads of all the guests that we've had, which would be kind of neat to see that. So I know the people that are watching, right now we'll show you a screenshot of what Jason's bobblehead looks like. So I guess the viewers are seeing it before you, but we'll send it over to you so you have it. But if you were to go back in time, kind of with your bobblehead self here, back to let's just say when you made that, at that moment where the furniture store is closing, Lisa's pregnant with twins, you have a child at home, you have no idea where life is going to take you, in kind of that moment where you have all these feelings and emotions. What would you tell yourself back then based on what you know today?
Just to trust the Lord. That way we did, but at the time that we still panicked and all that. So just knew the Lord had a plan for my life and for our lives and our family's lives. So, that's what I think. Just trust in Him and
let it take you where it takes you.
Yep, absolutely. And just looking back, it's just amazing how all the things fell in place to set us up. Because if that furniture store wouldn't have closed, and who knows, right? I don't think there's any way I'd have been.
I mean, it's really the quite literal one door closing for another to open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's great. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.